Hi everyone, and welcome to Dave's Brick House. Today I have a treat in store for you. I'm doing not one, not two, but tree tutorials. Puns in a Dave video? Who would have guessed? Hopefully you're not getting bored with all these puns. Okay, I'm done. For my Jurassic Park emergency shelter mock, I added lots of foliage, but also a number of trees. I thought they came out great, and I definitely learned a few useful things. So today, I'm going to show you how I built them. I'll start with a tip. I find it convenient to build trees on an 8x8 plate, as it provides a stable base and also makes it easy to rotate the tree when you're adding the leaves. Then after the tree is built, I move it to the mock. For this first palm tree, you'll need the following parts. You can pause the video to get a good look, and I also put the parts list in the description for the video. We'll start by building the trunk using the Technic connectors and pins. Using these makes for a reasonably solid trunk. To make it even more stable at the bottom, you can use one of these half pin, half axle pieces. The pin end goes into the bottom Technic connector, and the axle end can go into a 2x2 round brick or a couple of 2x2 round plates, depending on the look you're going for. I ended up adding foliage around the base to hide the 2x2 parts at the bottom. Once you get the trunk to the desired height, add one of these bush pieces. A dark tan bush looks the most realistic, but those are pretty much impossible to get unless you're willing to pay a crazy high price. The way I attach the bush piece is using a 4L bar. Start by putting a Technic pin in the bottom of the bush. Then from the top of the bush, push a 4L bar through the hole until you encounter a bit of resistance. The bar can be any color, as you won't see it. Now you can slide the bush onto the trunk upside down. The bar fits nice and snug into the middle of the Technic pin on the last part of the trunk. And now we're ready to add the leaves. This is the least stable part of the tree, and if you're adding this to a mock you'll be transporting somewhere, it's fairly likely you'll have to rebuild the top after moving it. To start, you add these parts to attach the swordleaf pieces to. Two of them back to back fit nicely on the Technic pin. Make sure to offset the two of them by 45 degrees. This makes it easier to attach the leaves and gives it a fuller look. Now let's add the leaves. It looks nice if you slant the bottom ones down just slightly. Adding these leaves is definitely the most fiddly part of the build, and it may take you a few tries, but after a while you get better at it. One thing that really helps is to be gentle when attaching the leaves. You could stop now, but I like to add a bit more to fill out the top. I'm using an antenna piece, but you can also use a 4L bar into a 1x1 round plate with a hole in the top. Now just add a few leaves until you like the look. Leave some empty space at the bottom of the rod, so you won't bump into the leaves you've already attached. I find it easier to add the leaves to the antenna piece, and then carefully add the finished assembly to the rest of the tree. And now you have a nice looking palm tree. The second palm tree has a simpler looking top, but a more interesting looking trunk. The secret ingredient here is that there's a piece of this tubing inside the trunk. This is the only non-Lego part I use when I build. It's much less expensive than the official Lego part. It's available in 9 colors, and it comes in a continuous piece starting at 100 feet long for around $13, with longer lengths also available. I found out about this tubing when I got involved with the Jurassic Park collab, as it's what people were using for the electric fences. I put a link in the description for the place you can get this. I used 1x1 round bricks for the previous trees I built because I had a huge amount of them on hand. But as I was making this tutorial, I decided to try using 1x1 cones. When I did that, I found, to my surprise, that in addition to adding some character to the trunk, it's also less wobbly than using 1x1 round bricks. That allows for a fuller top if desired. So on to the build. Here are the parts you'll need. The first step is to figure out how tall you want your tree to be and cut a piece of tubing to the appropriate length. I determined the length by assembling the number of cones I wanted to use and then measuring it. Now start building the trunk. Slide the 1x1 cones onto the tubing one at a time until they're all on. Notice that due to the tubing in the center, you can bend the trunk just a bit until you get a look you like. Now we do the top, which is similar to the first palm tree. In this case though, we'll only use one of these pieces and no bush piece. It gives a different look. Plus, I found that the larger size of the first treetop is too much weight for the trunk if you use bricks for the trunk instead of cones. So add one of these pieces to the top of the last brick in the trunk. Then add leaves to it. And to fill in the middle a bit, I used a 1x1 round brick to give a bit of space between the first layer of leaves. And then I add another 3 leaves directly to each other like this. And that's it for this tree. For the third tree, we'll move away from palms and towards, well, I don't know what kind of tree this is, but trees built using these leaves, which as it turns out are actually called palm leaves, are very prevalent in the Jurassic Park collab. For this tree, I'm using 2x2 round bricks and 2x2 round plates. I initially tried using 2x2 round grill bricks, but I found that they weren't very stable when building to the height I went for in these trees. This is a smaller version of the ones I built for the Jurassic Park emergency shelter mock, but the techniques are the same. Here are the parts you'll need for this tree. These trees are pretty easy to build, and I apply a bit of randomness during the build to give them variety. We'll start with 12 round bricks. Then we'll add the first layer of leaves. To make them a bit fuller, I use the same pieces I used for the palm trees. This allows me to add 8 leaves per layer. By the time you spread them out, you get a nice full look. Now add another round brick and another 8 leaves. You could keep repeating this pattern until you have the desired height, but a bit of variety makes the tree look a lot more interesting. To do this, you can vary the spacing between leaf layers by using random combinations of plates and bricks. You can also occasionally only put 4 leaves on a layer. So next, I'll add 2 round bricks and then only 4 leaves. Now I'll add another brick and 8 more leaves. Then I'll add a plate and 4 more leaves. Add another brick and 8 more leaves. And finally, add 2 more bricks and 4 more leaves. Then I top the tree with a 2x2 round tile. So there you go, 3 different tree techniques. If you're making multiple trees for a mock, remember to add variety by making them different heights, varying the spacing between the layers of leaves, varying the number of leaves in a layer, and randomizing the direction of the leaves as much as possible to provide fuller coverage. So that's it for this tree tutorial. I hope you learned some useful building techniques that you can use in your own mocks. Trees and foliage add so much to a mock. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos from me in the future, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking on the bell icon to get notifications of new videos. Thanks for watching, and go build something that makes you smile.